Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Draft Geek Prospect Review, where we take a look at how the top 2019 NFL Draft prospects did in this past weekend's games. I'm Brian Johannes. Let's start with the Alabama versus Missouri game. What was intriguing about this game was to see how Drew Lock was going to do against probably the best defense he was going to face. A couple weeks back, he played against Georgia, kind of struggled, or did struggle in that game. So how was he going to do against this good Alabama defense? And it didn't start out good for Drew Lock. His first pass of the game was an interception. He threw it right, kind of short, inside a little bit, allowed the cornerback to make that play on the ball, nearly returned it for a touchdown. He had a lot of pressure in this game. Alabama front seven guys, Quinnen Williams, Raekwon Davis, Isaiah Buggs, and Mac Wilson all had sacks in this game. Drew Lock finished with 142 yards on 13 for 26 passing, so only 50% completion percentage. He did have one touchdown. It was a nice throw. He was patient in the pocket. He had a nice clean pocket. Let the receiver come across the field and hit him with a nice throw, showing some anticipation. But like I said, he had the interception to start the game, added another one. I think we're getting to the point. I know most of the internet draft analysts like myself have kind of been down on Drew Lock. I think the national media needs to get on board. There's no reason why Drew Lock should be considered a first-round draft pick. Who knows? Maybe he still will be. But I think his stock needs to really start cooling. One of the big things about this weekend's games was upsets, and that's what happened with the number 2 ranked Georgia Bulldogs. They lost to LSU 36-16. The big story I was looking for in this game was how were the LSU defenders going to do against this Georgia offense. Riley Ridley is Georgia's probably best receiver. He had 3 catches for 75 yards and a touchdown. But other than that, the Bulldogs were kept in check. LSU linebacker, our number 1 rated linebacker in this class, Devin White, was all over the field. 13 tackles. He had a quarterback hurry. Greedy Williams was excellent in coverage. He had just one pass defense, but played extremely well there. And then John Battle, their free safety, and Kirsten Fulton, their other outside corner, also had interceptions in this game. The number 3 rated team, Ohio State, kind of struggled for a little bit with Minnesota, but they ended up winning 30-14. Dwayne Haskins is continuing to make claim to being one of the best quarterbacks in this class, even though he is only a redshirt sophomore. 33 for 44, that's 75% completion percentage, for 412 yards and 3 touchdowns. He really had a strong connection with KJ Hill, a 6 foot, 198-pound junior. Hill had 9 catches for 187 yards and 2 touchdowns. One of those catches was a highlight reel one-handed catch and probably my favorite touchdown celebration ever. Just continuing to show that speed and playmaking ability. Haskins in this game, kind of showed off that elite arm talent that he has, the ability to drive the ball down the field, drop the ball into his receivers. It was Minnesota, but, once again, he's staking his claim. Justin Herbert's, my top-rated quarterback, but it's wide open after that. And Dwayne Haskins is definitely a guy to really consider if he does declare for the NFL draft. A couple other guys in this game. Draymond Jones, their defensive tackle. He's really a true, penetrating interior pass rusher. He had a sack in this game. And then Kendall Sheffield's a guy that really heard a lot of people talking about, but you need to keep an eye on him. He had an interception in this game. Sheffield has got the same height and weight dimensions that guys like Marshawn Lattimore, Garyon Conley, and then Denzel Ward had when they came out. He shows quick, explosive movement skills. He's got the ability to shadow guys. Don't be shocked to see if this is the 4th Ohio State cornerback to go in the first round in the last couple of years. Continuing with upsets, we had West Virginia taking on Iowa State. This was a tricky game. Iowa State cruised in this game 30-14, winning over West Virginia. Will Greer kind of had an interesting game. He completed 11 of 15 passes for 100 yards, a touchdown and interception. And you got to wonder, why weren't they throwing the ball more? I know he got sacked 7 times, but you would have thought he would have had 40 to lose a game. You would have thought they would have been just chucking the ball all over the field. You know, only 15 attempts, and even if you throw in those 7 sacks, it's only 21 pass plays. So not the best outing for West Virginia at all. David Sills had 22 yards and a touchdown. But the story of this game was David Montgomery, the Iowa State running back, my top-rated running back in this class. Montgomery was a magician in this game. He had 29 carries for 189 yards and a touchdown. Just continuing to show he's a player in this class. I have him as the first round with a first-round grade. He's got quick lateral agility. He's got burst to reel off big runs. He's patient. He reminds me a lot of Kareem Hunt for the Kansas City Chiefs. Low compact, really good balance, really good lateral agility. He's not getting a lot of talk because Iowa State hasn't had, isn't a big time program. But in a game like here, prime time, he really put out and, staking his claim once again to being a first round pick. One of the biggest games of the day was Washington and Oregon. Oregon ended up winning this in overtime, 30-27. Was kind of an interesting game for Justin Herbert. 18 for 32, so he only completed 56% of his passes for 202 yards and 2 touchdowns. I wouldn't say he played. A couple of weeks ago we had that Stanford game where he was just magnificent. He didn't quite have that in this game, but he did enough to help his team win, and he didn't make a lot of those big mistakes that would have really hurt them. So I think this was a solid game for him. You would have loved to see him have this huge game and a big win that would have really solidified himself as a potential number 1 overall pick. But, he played well enough to win, and sometimes that's all that you need, especially against a top 10 rated team. One of the matchups in this game was how Herbert was going to do against this good Washington secondary. Byron Murphy is one of the top cornerbacks. He's a redshirt sophomore. 6 tackles, 2 passes defended. Taylor Rapp, their do-it-all safety, had 9 tackles total, kind of all over the place, like his film indicates. A couple more games. Wisconsin and Michigan was the big game in prime time, in my opinion. Michigan just cruised, 38-13, win over Wisconsin. Wisconsin was going to be this team that everyone was saying, hey, they've got a shot at making this playoff, and after Michigan lost to Notre Dame, a lot of people put them in the rearview mirror, especially a guy like Shea Patterson, who had a solid game. And after that Notre Dame game, he's gotten better a little bit each time. He went 14 for 21 for 124 yards. He had 90 yards rushing, a big run that set up a touchdown, like an 80 to 89 yard run. Patterson, I don't know if he's going to be a day 1 or 2 pick. He's not going to be a day 1 pick. Probably not even a day 2 pick. But I think he's showing off some of his skill set to make a claim to be a draftable quarterback and be a guy that could be, at least at a minimum, a solid backup quarterback. And when they've kind of let him use his athleticism, that's when he's really shined. Another player, the running back, Karan Higdon, had 19 carries for 150 yards and a touchdown. Just such a solid back, patient runner, good burst, good contact balance. Once again, he's going to be a day 3 pick. He's not going to get up there very high and just give you a solid runner. And, he might be a guy that is never a starter in this league, but definitely a big-time backup. One of the biggest matchups I wanted to see was this Wisconsin offensive line versus this Michigan defense. We didn't get to see Rashawn Gary against David Edwards. Gary has been hurt. He didn't play in this game. That would have been a great matchup. But the Wisconsin offense only put up 283 yards. That's still decent. But you would have hoped that they would have put up more. 2 sacks they gave up, 2 quarterback hurries. Devin Bush, the Michigan linebacker, had a sack. Chase Winovich had a quarterback hurry. And then Lavert Hill, their top cornerback, had a pick 6 in this game. They got to Alex Hornibrook up the middle and hit him when he was making his throw, and Hill was able to reach up, make a nice catch, and then explode into the end zone for a touchdown. So Michigan's defense is chock full, and then they're even going to get Rashawn Gary back, a potential top 10 NFL draft pick. Watch out for the Wolverines going through the rest of the season. A couple quick hitters as we wrap up. Iowa demolished Indiana 42-16. The player to watch in this game was Noah Fant, the tight end. I have him as my 5th rated player in this class. A tight end that I think could be one of the best we've seen in years. He had 4 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown. Nice little touchdown where he just beat the safety with speed and then tracked the ball well, making a diving catch. It's something to kind of keep an eye out for. He was seen kind of limping off the field after the game, so hopefully it's nothing too severe, and he's ready to go next week. Duke beat Georgia Tech 28-14. The player to watch in that game was Duke's quarterback Daniel Jones. He's coming back from a shoulder injury, a collarbone injury. He was 17 for 27 for 206 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Jones is one of those guys that you need to keep an eye on in this quarterback race. I had mentioned that it's Justin Herbert and not really anybody else. Daniel Jones is a guy that you should don't count out. I know he got hurt early in the season, missed a few games. He's only a junior, so who knows if he'll leave Duke early. It might depend on if he gets his degree. But he's got touch. He can throw with anticipation. He's definitely one of my favorite quarterbacks in this class. So I'm anxious to see him as he finishes out the season, and I can't wait to see him in a bowl game, hopefully against a team with a good defense, to really see what he can do. All right, let's wrap it up with Houston beating Eastern Carolina 42-20. If we're talking about Houston, you know that we're going to be talking about Ed Oliver, and once again, he was unstoppable in this game. 6 tackles, 2 sacks. He had 5 tackles for loss. 5. And 2 quarterback hurries. If he wasn't making the play, he was impacting the play. And one of those sacks, he ended up jarring the ball loose, allowing his teammate to pick it up and return it for a touchdown. And it was just a showcase of what he can do, using his speed and power to beat the offensive guard, get into the backfield, attacking the quarterback, and then even getting he got his left hand in to jar the ball loose as the quarterback was going down. He's an absolute stud. If he's not the number 1 pick in this draft, he's going to be the 2nd or the 3rd. It just all depends on, quarterback and possibly Joey Bosa too. So, and he's just continuing to show up, and it's hard for him because Houston's not as great of a team as they were in past years. He's getting a lot of attention, but he's still producing at a high level, and it's just a shame that it's not being showcased even better. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Before you leave, hit that subscribe button. Turn on those notifications so you know whenever you get one of these episodes or one of my other videos on here. I also put the audio of this up on the podcast, so if you're watching the video, make sure you go to NFL Draft Geek on any of those podcatcher apps and subscribe to our podcast. I put other things other than just these up there, so you can subscribe to both. If you're watching the video, if you're listening to the podcast, get to the YouTube channel. Follow me on there. Lots of great content that's only available on that YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter at draft_Brian, at NFL Draft Geek on Twitter, at draft_Brian on Instagram. And just make sure you're hitting up NFLDraftGeek.com on a daily basis. Yeah, all our positional rankings are up, power rankings every week. We do a stock report. I do a scouting guide. We got mock drafts. Definitely a lot of content, scouting notes, scouting videos. We've got you all covered 365 days of the year. Thanks for watching. Till next time.